All right, so now we're going to start accessing actual data from the database to include in our page. So in our server's behavior tab, we click on the black plus and we're going to add a record set. We're going to name the record set customers in this case because we're planning on accessing the customer table. Northwind is our connection. It's the only one we've defined. And then under the table, we can hit the drop down and pick the customers table. We're going to go ahead and leave the column setting at all. We're going to pull in all the columns, then we can pick later on which ones we want to do. And since we're planning on doing a customer list here, we probably want to make use of the sort option to sort our data in a particular way. So I'm going to go through and choose customer ID so that our data is sorted by the customer ID. Once you have all the choices made, you can click the test button and it'll pop up a window and show you the data that it has retrieved from the database. So this, if you remember when we worked with the Northwind database as part of the SQL tutorials, then this is the data that you've seen before. So we'll click OK to clear the test and then OK to save that record set. So now in our server behaviors panel, we can see we have a record set for customers. Now, we still haven't included any data on our page yet. We've just been doing the steps needed to set up. Now we're ready to actually grab some data on our page. So let's go back to the plus under server behaviors. Click on that. And what we want to do now is we want some dynamic text. We want part of the text of our web page to come from our record set. Okay? But let's make sure I didn't do this first. Let's click in our form. Make sure we're in the customer ID field. So I'm in the cell on the table under customer ID. Alright, so we want to, in our document, we want to make sure our cursor is where we actually want our dynamic text to go. So I want this to go under my customer ID column. So now click the plus sign, pick dynamic text. And then now this is showing me that I have a record set for customers. And if I click the plus sign, that will expand that record set and show me that I have all these different fields available from that table in the database. Well, I want to pick the customer ID field and then click OK. And then now in the design view of my document, I see inside curly brackets a code that says customers.customerID. So that tells me that the text that's going to appear in that spot on my page is going to be whatever text is in the customer ID field of the customer's record set. And if I pop over to my code view, then you can see the highlighted PHP code that says, hey, what I'm going to be doing is echoing the customer ID from a row from the customer's data set. So you can see the PHP code that goes underneath that. All right, so let's go back to the design view. Click in the company name cell on the second row, and let's repeat that same process. Plus sign, dynamic text, and this time pick the company name and click OK. And then let's just repeat that for our other 3 columns. So contact name, plus sign, dynamic text, contact name, OK. Go in the cell for contact title, plus sign, dynamic text, contact title, OK. Got to scroll over, get in my cell for country, plus sign, dynamic text. Country is a little further down the list, and then OK. So now we've got all this set up. This is a good point to do a save. So let's do File, Save. And then now, in order to see the results of this, we actually need to look at the page as it's executed on the server. There's 2 different ways we can do that. One, we can go up here to where our design view is. We can hit that drop down and switch to the live view. And we're going to get this warning that we need to update the copy on the testing server. So it's like, yes, we do want to do that. And then now, if we look at our live page, we have 1 row of data that's actually been pulled from that table on the database server. You have now created your first dynamic website page where you're pulling data from a database server. Okay, now we titled this page Customer List. If we only display 1 record from the customer table, are we really displaying a customer list? No, we're not. So now we need to go back and be able to print out all the records from the customer list. So we want to go, in this case, this is where we need access to the code. So let's go to the code view. And scroll in your code view until you find the 2 rows that are in our table. You should see 1 TR through /TR that has all the column headings in it. And then below that is a second TR through /TR that has the 5 PHP commands. Okay, we need to highlight those 7 lines. So highlight the lines that go from TR, the 5 lines that have PHP on it, and then the line that has /TR at the end. So we need those 7 lines highlighted. Because what we want to do is we want to repeat those 7 lines for every row of data that we have in the table in the database. And we're going to tell PHP to do that over here on the right in your server behaviors panel. Click the plus sign. And then we want to choose repeat region. Those 7 lines that we highlighted, that's a region of our page that we want to repeat for every row in our table. So we pick repeat region. We want this repeat region to be tied to the customer's record set. We want to do it 10 records at a time, so we're not overwhelmed by a complete list. And then pick OK. It tells us our file has been modified. Do we wish to save the file? I'm going to say yes to all. I always want to update my files, and yes to update on the testing server. So now if you're still in the code view, notice that our code now has a do while loop in it. The Dreamweaver extensions for database support have added some more code to our file. We now have a loop structure in our file. Now if we go back to the live view, then we can see now how many records are we displaying in the live view. Yeah, we've got 10 of them displayed now. Is that all the records that are in that customer table? No, there's more in there. So in our next set of instructions, we're going to see how we can do paging so that we can go back and forth with groups of data.